Oh my god, this matchup. I think it really depends on like how you playing that day and the actual player. Like for some reason, like you'll play an actual player and they're really good against fighting Kai, but they're really bad at fighting Sin. Or like they're really good at fighting Sin and they're really bad at fighting Kai. Or they're really good at fighting both of them, but they can't fight Bridget. It's like they don't all have the full package. So you can kind of like trick them out and maybe, you know, pull out a trump card depending on the player. What's going on, guys? Look, so today we're gonna make a new type of chart. So I'll be playing multiple characters, right? So the three characters that I'm going to be maining in this game, I am going to make a chart of characters that I will play depending on the matchup. And we're going to make an actual thorough explanation of why I'm going to play each character and things like that. But before we jump into it, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you guys feel. What characters would you guys play differently from my list? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's jump into it right now. What character should I play against what matchup, right? So this is going to kind of be mines in particular, especially if you see me playing a tournament. But these are the three characters I'm just going to play depending on the character matchup. These three characters does pretty okay against Soul. I know Bridget and Sin does really good against Soul. But if I had to choose, I think I would play Sin. Sin actually fights Soul in the mid-range really good. Fighting that mid-range and things like that and getting rewarded off those hits definitely makes it like really tough for Soul in my opinion. I will 100% prioritize this. I was thinking Bridget too, because Bridget does pretty well too, but I think the reward off like the straight hits that Sin gets is just a little too good in terms of Bridget. But Bridget gets like better setups in that regard, you know what I mean? I think against May, I would probably just play Kai, just because that is like a really staple matchup for Kai. The buff that they got off Dolphin, Kai can't punish it anymore, but even in that situation, like if I have meters, Stun Dipper RC is always going to be a threat. I think Sin does okay, but I think Kai does like the best. Axel, oh my god, this matchup. I think it really depends on like how you playing that day and the Axel player. I think Axel does well against all three of them, to be fair. So I would say that like it really depends on like how you're playing. Who's the Axel player you playing? Like for some reason, like you'll play an Axel player and they're really good against fighting Kai, but they're really bad at fighting Sin. Or like they're really good at fighting Sin and they're really bad at fighting Kai. Or they're really good at fighting both of them, but they can't fight Bridget. It's like they don't all have the full package. So you can kind of like trick them out and maybe, you know, pull out a trump card depending on the player. Maybe if they all fight together. How much do I consider it on paper? I don't really consider it a lot on paper. You know what I mean? Like for sure it says that on paper, but you think that person's going to read that paper? No. Against Kai, Bridget and Sin actually get bodied by Kai. And then the Kai mirror, I mean, it's the Kai mirror, but I have the most confidence. I think I would just play Sin. I don't think Sin wins, but I will play Sin. I guess because the strategy, I could run it. It's just more easier for me. Chip. Oh, nah. Chip instantly, bro. Kai, dog. I think out of all the three characters, Kai has the most stable game plan against Chip. Good normals, good reward, good knockdown, good post knockdown, good buttons against like his approach. I will 100% play this matchup over any of these characters. Mainly just because of just the return of like his button. Ha! Fight! 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 Now, I don't think Kai and Sin lose to Potemkin, but I think Bridget just beats the dog water off Potemkin. That alone makes me just want to pick the character. Even though I don't, like I said, the other characters, they do well, but Bridget just does like way better. Faust. Kai has the highest chance to beating this character out of all these characters. Kai's reward off 6 punch compared to the other two characters, way high. Get a hard knockdown, you know, get this counter hit. Also has a lot of moves that like moves him forward, like in the air, which kind of makes Faust have to really be careful of just like jumping into like drill or like, you know, jumping into bomb back. Also, Faust not having like a reversal, and Kai's meaty 5k is just like so good. Because of the reward that you get off like getting up close, I will say that Kai has the most reward. For Millia, I will 100% pick Sin for many reasons. The reward off the hits that I get off Millia from anywhere on the screen is really good. And the return I get off the air hits are just so high. So this is like a really good like matchup where you want to kind of be explosive against Millia, right? To make them like really scared to like maneuver around you. So I would say that 100% Sin versus Millia would probably be the best bet. Zato. This is another matchup I'll play Sin. Sin can close the gap on Zato really well. Zato offense has to be adjusted to his like Dragon Punch just because of how much distance that it brings. So I would definitely play Sin. Ramlethal. Kai has the highest chance against Ramlethal, especially with the changes now. Her damage still is like some of the best, but now Kai can actually fight Ramlethal in the mid-range with the 5H buff. And then also with the Sacred Edge, with Stun Edge, Sacred Edge, with the Shock State, so good. Another thing that's really good too is Kai 6P in a lot of situations is just way more rewarding in a lot of ways because he can combo off anywhere, counter hit, regular hit, don't matter. Sin, he has to be like sometimes Beat Driver would not like connect because of the range. At least with Kai, he can do like Stun Dipper. Leo. I want to play this matchup more, but I think Bridget is actually pretty good against Leo. I would definitely play Bridget 100% just by playing. I felt the most comfortable out of these two. But I would say, like, out of all the chances, if I could, I would definitely play Leo Bridget. If I'm not super familiar with like certain things, worst case scenario, I'll switch to Kai, but I think I will play Bridget. Nagoriyuki, 100% Kai. I actually don't think that I would ever play Sin versus Nago in this patch competitively because that matchup is jokes, man. That matchup is so jokes. Kai has the highest chance only because the more blood that Nago gets, that means that Kai's reward off mid pokes are rewarded. Stun Dipper really gives Nago a hard time now, especially with the changes with the 5H and the 2S. Yeah, Nago is still a nightmare for Kai, but now the buttons have recovery, so you can at least like counter poke. Giovanna. I think Giovanna and Bridget is actually pretty annoying for Giovanna, to be honest. But it's hard. Honestly, I think I'll put them all above, to be honest. It really depends. I don't necessarily think that Giovanna like beats them all, but like she can fight them all. So I would say it's like even for majority of the characters, but I really truly believe that I think depending on the situation who I play, they'll probably either be like Sin, Bridget, Kai will be like the last resort. But even then, I'll probably just play all of the above, like to be honest. Honestly, I'll play all of the above because all these characters actually have ways to fight Gio. Like Gio having a low air dash is very helpful to fight against, which is nice. But you want to have like a lot of reward, a lot of this, a lot of that. You want to have like a lot of variation of things. Mr. Wanji, man. All of the above, actually. I think it really depends on like how you're feeling, to be honest with you. I honestly think the weakest out of all of these three, I think that does the weakest is probably Sin. But I think all of these characters kind of bullies. I do think Kai does the best out of these three. But I think Bridget does pretty good too. If you weren't blocking Anji that day, who I'm picking? Oh, I'm picking Kai. If I ain't blocking that day, Kai it is, dog. I'm not having a good day, but Kyle got me, dog. Eno. If I had to choose, I think Sin does the best against all of these three. I think Sin actually gives Eno a pretty hard time, which is pretty funny. This has been like a history, Sin bullying Eno. Gold Lewis. Sin Gold Lewis feels good, but I think Bridget does better. I think they all do pretty alright, to be honest, but I think Bridget does the best. Jacko. I think I gotta go with Sin, bro. For one reason only. Because when Jacko throws minions, depending on how they throw minions, Sin can do Beat Driver and do the follow-up. And the follow-up is so good because it's only -4. And in that matchup, you just want to close the gap. So I would choose Sin, to be honest. Happy Chaos. Sin. I think out of all of these characters, Sin has the strongest chance of beating this character with my roster. Sin actually has some ways to fight Happy Chaos. Now, at the end of the day, it is Happy Chaos. So even though I might have ways to beat the character, does not mean that that matchup is going to be free for me. But I will say that the odds of me winning is slightly higher than the other two characters. Sin's reward, Sin button surprisingly could fight Happy Chaos well. And because Sin has multiple follow-ups, he can really shut down a lot of like Happy Chaos, like autopilot things. Yeah, I think Sin does better than Kai, to be honest. The problem is with Kai is all of his moves get low profile. Because Sin normals are so slow, they don't get low profile. Isn't that hilarious? The low profiling is not as bad. The only funny part is he'll get counter hit before he gets low profile. Baiken, Sin. Sin is an interesting character because Sin naturally gives Baiken a hard time because a lot of people opt to like parries, but Sin's like delay in his move like kind of auto beats it. So it makes parry such a huge risk. So 100% I would say, but Baiken can fight well. Baiken still got godlike ass normals, man. So, you know, it's still a challenge in that regard. Testament, bro. I will 100% play Kai. Bridget, I think out of all the characters, Kai does the best against Bridget, actually. Kai just normals, stun edge, things like that. Stun dipper just gives this character such an annoying. I think Bridget players will hate this matchup a lot. I thought Sam does pretty okay against Bridget last patch, and then they buffed the hell out of her, and I was like, oh no, nope, not playing that matchup. Last but not least, I will probably play the mirror match for this character, to be honest. Or honestly, it really depends. I put it all the way above. The Sin mirror is actually not as cringe as the other mirrors. Damn, bro. Literally, these matchups is like a 50-50 of who I would play, which is so crazy. It makes me sad because I want to play Sin more, right? But in these matchups, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. I mean, it's worth it if you're a specialist, but like, and you're playing for fun. But like, you know, when it's like 3 games, it's really hard to adapt. You gotta play with the cards that are consistent. You know what I mean?